Hi guys, welcome back to the Nordic Watch channel. I'm Anders from Finland and today another Seiko 5 review. This time Seiko SNK355, which has the same case as the SNKL41, which I have reviewed on the channel, among many other Seiko 5s that I've reviewed. What makes the SNK355 great is that it has the same 01V0 case as the SNKL41, which is at the moment my favorite Seiko 5, so I am pretty likely to like this watch. We'll find out in this review. And I will also show you this SNK355 on a few leather straps towards the end, and also compare it to the SNKL41 and let you know how it compares to this watch. So without further ado, let's put the SNKL41 aside and get to the review of this SNK355. So for those that are not familiar with it, a Seiko 5 comes with a set of specific 5 specifications, which are: it is automatic, it has a day-date function, it has a 4 o'clock crown which is recessed, it has some sort of water resistance, and it is somewhat durable. So those are 5 specs that come with a watch being a Seiko 5. And one thing that is pretty much customary to these watches also, especially these older models, is that they are pretty affordable. So for instance, this SNK355, you can get this for around $100 or euros. I will look up some Amazon affiliate links and share them with you in case you're interested in getting one and want to help this channel out. I'm going to start out with the more objective things, so basic specs and dimensions and stuff like that, and then move on to negatives and finish off with the positives, along with comparing this watch with the SNKL41 along the way, and giving you my final opinions of the watch in the end, and also showing it on a few leather straps so you get an idea of how it wears on different straps. But without further ado, let's jump into the dimensions of the watch. This watch has a diameter of 37 millimeters, a thickness of 10 millimeters, an 18 millimeter lug width, and a 42 millimeter lug to lug. So that's a really kind of a compact case, which makes it great for any size of wrist. I think it's really good on a 6.5-inch wrist like mine, but it also wears very well on smaller than that wrists, like a 6-inch wrist, or also larger, I would say up to 7.5-inch wrists. So a great size, and also a unisex size. I think this size is just a great kind of a classical size and like a stylish style and choice for guys. It reminds me very much of like a 36 millimeter Rolex Datejust or Oyster Perpetual, and I think this is a great affordable alternative, and a great way also to see if that's a kind of watch you would like to wear before you make the big plunge and actually use that kind of money on a watch. You can first see if you like it at all. This case has lugs that are curved a little bit downward, so that helps with making the watch sit really nicely on smaller wrists also. It does have some nice shifts in finishing. You can see the top of the lug here being brushed to match the bracelet. Then we have a polished chamfered edge here, and that transitions nicely to a polished side here also. And then we have a polished bezel, which is also in 2 different sections there, giving it a nice and interesting shape. So when you think about this being a $100 watch, it's really nice the amount of case finishing they put into this watch. I really do like it, and this is a great case. And what's fun about this is also when this has the same case as the SNKL41, if you happen to have one, like I do, you can just switch out the bracelets. So buying the other one of the models, you get an extra bracelet for your watch and you can switch them out. And I tried that, and I will show you some pictures of what that looked like. Speaking of the bracelet, this one is significantly different from the one on the SNKL41. Let me just show you. The SNKL41 has more of an oyster style bracelet, if I'm allowed to say that, while this is more of a Jubilee kind of bracelet. The bracelet on the SNK355 does actually taper more than on the SNKL41. They both start out from 18 at the lugs, then they widen up to 20, and I think the SNKL41 tapers down to 18, while the SNK355 bracelet tapers down to 16. Links are mostly brushed, but we have this small section that is polished here on the side of the outer links, and then we have the center link here, which is also polished. Links, as you might expect, are folded, making it quite loud, but I did not have the problem that this bracelet would catch any arm hair, and I do have some hair on my arms, so still no problem with that, which is good. But this bracelet really resembles the one on the SNKL43, I think. I also have a video of how to shorten these bracelets, which is pretty easy with these folded links. Pretty many people complain about it being difficult, but I think these are one of the most easy bracelets to size. I don't see any problem there. The clasp is branded Seiko 5 clasp, basic fold over clasp, which is stamped, not milled as you might expect, and a double push button deployment. And we have 3 holes for micro adjustments, just about enough to get a good fit. We have a see-through case back with a hardlex crystal, as often with Seiko 5s. We also have the very familiar 7S26 movement, so Seiko's basic workhorse movement, which Seiko is slowly but surely phasing out and starting to put the NH35 movement, or the 4R35 movement, I should say, in their Seiko 5 models. So this one comes with no hacking, no hand winding. It beats at 21,600 beats per hour, has a day-date function, bidirectional winding, which I like, and I've never really had a problem with these 7S26s apart from a used Seiko SKX that I bought. That one was pretty banged up, so I think those problems will arise in any kind of movement with time, but it's not the most accurate movement in the world. I'll put some specs actually up in the corner here, but you know, automatic or affordable automatic watches aren't that accurate, and you're just bound to have to set the time every now and then, maybe once a week, even if you use it daily. So I don't have a problem with that. It's a great workhorse movement and really carefree, and actually pretty quiet and nice on the wrist too, so I quite like it. And you can also pretty easily regulate the movement using that lever there if you want to, if you know what you're doing, that is. We have a push and pull crown here, and we have the basic 2 settings here. So 1 pull and we set the date and day. We have a bilingual day wheel here, and yeah, just like that. And pulling it out all the way, we have the time, and I'll just demonstrate to you what it looks like when I turn it over 12 o'clock to show you that this actually date and day change takes some time. So now it's starting to turn at 11:30. At 12 o'clock we have the date there, but the day takes some time. Now we have the different language here at 2 o'clock. Now it started to turn, and around 3 o'clock we have the day and date correctly. So it's a little bit slow, the date and day change, but it's also really affordable, so you can't expect everything at this price point. Alright, moving on to the dial, which is the biggest difference between this watch and the SNKL41. One distinguished thing that this SNK355 has that not very many Seiko 5s have is that the dial is covered in Seiko 5 badges, and it's really subtle. You can barely see it on camera. I'll try to put in some good footage of it afterwards, but I'm having some trouble getting it on camera here. You can see it in different lightings with the naked eye if you really try to, but more often than not you just can't tell. So the basic view of this dial is that it looks just like a plain sunburst silver, which I actually really like. Silver dials are not that common in watches, I think. I think white is more common than silver, but this is clearly more of a silver than on the SNKL. They might both be categorized as silver by Seiko, but this is my opinion. Actually, in this lighting they look pretty much the same, but I'm still sticking to my opinion that this is more silver than the SNKL41. In this lighting you actually can see the difference in color. The SNK355 is more silver and the SNKL41 is more white. But yeah, those little Seiko 5 badges I think are a really nice touch to this watch, and it makes it stand out from the crowd, and it's like a nice subtle touch that you can't see unless you look for it, but it's a nice kind of indication that Seiko put some thought into this watch. Otherwise, I think also that the look of this dial is really clean and nice, really nicely balanced with those hour indices, which are also nicely finished. They catch the light nicely. They have that kind of a, well, it's an angled edge, I think, at the end, which shines every now and then when it catches the light. And then we have that high polish on top of the marker, and at the outer end of the markers we have lume pips. Just a quick shot of the lume here. Obviously the lume is not a priority in this kind of a dressy watch, but there still is a nice amount of lume, none on the seconds hand, but we do have on the minute and hour hand and on the hour indices these small lume pips, so you can easily distinguish it in darker surroundings. The hands are also nicely finished in my opinion, also catching the light really nicely with that kind of a divide in the middle that makes the underside now in this lighting look dark and the upper side look shiny. So really nice looking hands, and also some lume applied there too. At the 3 o'clock we have a nice frame for the day and date, which is also nicely finished. That frame around the day and date wheels or the day and date window is something actually that the SNKL41 doesn't have, so that sets these apart. Also the hour indices are a lot shorter on the SNK355 than on the SNKL41, which makes it look less crowded in my opinion, and also gives the possibility to put the Seiko and Seiko 5 badge more towards the 12 o'clock or more outward here than on the Seiko SNKL, which actually I think looks a lot nicer. Now that I put these side by side, it looks a bit weird that the Seiko 5 is so low on the dial. Then we have automatic 21 joules there at the 6 o'clock. Nothing more than that, and I think that's just enough and nothing excessive on the dial. One thing that I do find kind of weird on both of these dials is that little black dot to the right side of the day and date window. I think that's just something that they could do without, or it could be a piece of metal instead or something. I think that's just kind of odd, because nothing else on the dial looks like that. But it's just something I laid my eyes on, and not really a big deal. Okay, now it's time to see how this watch wears on the wrist, and as a reference I'm going to also put the SNKL41 and the Seiko Sarb033 on my wrist. And there we go. Here's how the SNK355 wears on my 6.5-inch wrist. And as you can see, it's just a bang on size for my wrist and really hugging the wrist nicely. Only 10 millimeters thick, so no problem sliding under a cuff. And just an overall timeless and classic size. I'm not a big fan of the oversized watch fad that's going on, and this is just a really good size in my opinion. Bracelet is also really comfortable, and this watch is pretty lightweight also. Not much of a rattle when you have set it up nicely for your wrist, which is also very welcome. In comparison, here's the SNKL41 on my wrist, and of course, since they have the same case, they are going to wear very similarly, and the only difference being the dial and the bracelet. And as I've said before about the SNKL41, just a great size and a classic design also. And there we have the Sarb033, and I have it on a Gekota Kirkstead bracelet, which is this kind of president style bracelet. Yeah, I think this is 1 millimeter larger, but still also a great size for my wrist and pretty similar to the previous Seiko 5s I just showed you. Now let's put the SNK355 on a couple of different leather straps and put it on the wrist to show you how it looks like. And after that, a quick recap of the negatives and positives, and then my final opinions. Okay, so first off, we have this nice leather strap from Hirsch with stitching, which actually matches the dial pretty nicely. And there we go. Dressy but also sporty with this strap. This would be a great strap in my opinion for casual everyday wear. What's great about this case that both this SNK355 and the SNKL41 has is that there's not a large gap between the spring bar and the case as there was with the SNKL43, which I reviewed quite some time ago, and I complained about that gap there. So that's one of the reasons why I think this case is really good for leather straps. Because if you wore the SNKL43 on a leather strap, there would be a huge gap between the case and the strap. Next up, same strap but in cognac colored leather, and I think this looks super classy actually. Great fit with the dial and a nice contrast between the brown and the dial there. Now, is that a great looking strap on the watch or what? I actually prefer this to the black one, and I usually don't wear brown leather straps, let alone cognac, but this is actually a really nice fit, and I can see myself wearing this one out and about. Okay, last but not least, this one I had the highest expectations for, and it does not disappoint. I really like this strap by Colourweb. I can't remember the name of the model, but I'll put it down here. And there it is on the wrist. Really good looking strap on this watch too. And I have to say, these Colourweb straps are super comfortable. I'm not sponsored by any means. I have to buy these with my own money, but I have to say I'm going to have to order some more because these are just really comfortable and they don't cost a lot of money when you compare to other kind of luxury handmade straps. That's it for the strap showcase. I don't have that many straps in 18 millimeters, so it's kind of a short one today. Now let's get to the negatives and positives and finally wrap this video up. Okay, so a quick list of negatives I found myself thinking about this watch. Maybe the one that comes out on top is, well, Actually, the water resistance of only 30 meters is a bit of a letdown. 50 would be nice, but I would mostly prefer watches to have 100 meters of water resistance. But it is kind of a dressy watch, so not maybe something that you would be wearing swimming anyway, but that would be great to have anyways. But 30 meters of water resistance, which is kind of disappointing. Another thing that I don't really complain about, but I know some people don't like that the crystal on this watch is not sapphire, it's a hardlex crystal. I have no problem myself with hardlex crystals. I rarely scratch them, and if I do, the scratches are so small that it doesn't really bother me. But I know that there are some kind of Chinese special watches nowadays that have kind of raised the bar for €100 or dollar watches, and people are getting used to getting sapphires for that price. So I figured that's something I could point out as a negative. Another thing is, which again I don't really find as a negative, but the movement is kind of outdated. So no hacking, no hand winding, which is a bit of a pain if it stops often and you just have to shuffle it around to get it going. So that's a little bit of a negative. And one more thing, this is maybe one of the bigger things with the negatives. I think it's the bracelet. While it is a good looking bracelet, in my opinion, it's not the best one. And well, you can see here, for example, these top links here sometimes, yeah, it's actually touching the case, that's why it's doing that. Yeah, so not ideal. It's going to probably scratch up the case there. I think this kind of polished section here on the side of the link is also kind of random. It would be nice to have just your classic kind of jubilee, so brushed here on the sides, and then these three middle links would be all polished. That would look great in my opinion. And also, of course, the folded links, not the best and not the most quiet either. So probably the bracelet along with the water resistance are the two biggest complaints with this watch. Negatives out of the way, let's get to the positives. Alright, so positives. First and foremost, probably being a timeless and elegant design, which I think is a big plus. You don't have to look any further than classic Rolex models like the Datejust or Oyster Perpetual in the 36mm size. It's just, you can get watches from the 80s and they still look fantastic if they've been kept in good condition. So this really is a timeless design because it resembles those watches, and it is a great size also, and a unisex size for that matter. So that's kind of two flies with one swat. You can share this with your, well, significant other or anyone. And it's also a very versatile design. Depending on the strap, you can put this on a sporty strap, dress it down a bit, and it's a kind of a sports watch, or you can put it on a dressy strap and make it into a dress watch. So really nice versatility with this watch, which is great. Obvious positive is the price point. These coming in at around €100 or dollars. You can't really ask for anything more in a watch for that kind of price. And I think a watch like this could be a very good one watch collection, or actually I'd have to say a two watch collection. You might want to have something with a little bit more water resistance when you go to the beach, something like a G-Shock or a Seiko SKX, or anything with more water resistance than 30 meters. Another thing I quite like with this model is that it is not the most popular Seiko 5 model. We all know about the Seiko SNKL41, we know about the SNKL43, and so on. This is a bit of a like a left field choice, and I think it's left in the dark a little bit on YouTube, and I hope that this is going to get kind of a new popularity with my video. I'm not sure I'm that influential, but hopefully people will find that this is a great alternative to turn to if you're looking for a versatile Seiko 5, and it doesn't have the same price markups as the SNKL41 and 23, or which they at least used to have. Now you can get them again for around 100, but they went up to crazy prices at one point. That's it pretty much for the positives and negatives. Let's wrap this video up. Okay, first of all, thank you for making it this far in the video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and give this video a like. Also, go follow me on Instagram at Nordic Watch Channel if you're interested. I try to make content for you guys as often as I can. It's somewhat irregular, but I still always come back. Yeah, this has been my review of the Seiko SNK355. Just a great overall and everyday watch, a great alternative for the Seiko SNKL41, and also a great alternative for the Seiko Sarb033, which is really not that available. What can I say? It's a great watch for the money. I'll put some affiliate links below, and if you have any questions or you have any requests or something like that, give me a comment down below. I always answer my comments, and you can also write me a DM at my Instagram or anything like that. But yeah, that's it for this video. I'm out of coffee, so going to wrap this up now. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.